The two brothers, one inherited the family house, the other inherited his father's wisdom. Years later, who was truly richer? Opening hook. There is an old African proverb that says, "A child who inherits wealth may become rich, but a child who inherits wisdom will never remain poor." Many people hear those words, but few truly understand them. This is the story of two brothers whose father left them two very different inheritances. One received everything people could see, while the other received something no one believed had any value. Years later, life revealed which inheritance was worth far more. The morning sun rose gently over the quiet village of Umudike, where birds sang from the mango trees, and women swept the red earth in front of their homes. At the edge of the village stood the largest compound anyone had ever seen. It belonged to Chief Okonkwo, a respected farmer, trader, and elder, whose wisdom had settled disputes for over 40 years. People traveled from neighboring villages not because he was the richest man, but because they trusted his judgment. Whenever he spoke, people listened. Chief Okonkwo had two sons. The elder was Chinedu. From childhood, Chinedu loved expensive things. He admired wealth, fine clothes, and the respect that money seemed to bring. Whenever visitors praised his father's success, he imagined the day it would all become his. The younger son was Emeka. Unlike his brother, Emeka was quiet and thoughtful. He spent more time walking beside his father than counting his father's possessions. Whenever Chief Okonkwo visited the farms, Emeka followed. Whenever he met village elders, Emeka listened. Whenever someone came seeking advice, Emeka sat silently in the corner, absorbing every word. Many villagers believed Chinedu would become richer than his father, but some of the elders quietly said, "Watch the younger one. He is collecting something far more valuable than money." As the years passed, Chief Okonkwo grew old. His once powerful hands became weak. The man who had carried heavy sacks of yam could now barely lift a walking stick. One evening, sensing that his time was drawing near, he called both sons into his room. The atmosphere was heavy. Neither brother spoke. Their father looked at them with tired eyes filled with love. "My sons," he began softly, "I have lived a good life. Everything a man owns eventually belongs to someone else. But before I leave this world, I must decide what each of you will receive." Chinedu straightened his back. His heart raced. Surely the family house, the fertile farmland, the livestock, and his father's savings would all become his. Chief Okonkwo continued, "Chinedu." "Yes, father. I leave you this family compound, the farmland, the cocoa plantation, the livestock, and all the money in my accounts." A smile slowly spread across Chinedu's face. He tried to hide it, but inside, he was already celebrating. His younger brother had no chance of matching such wealth. Then Chief Okonkwo turned towards Emeka. "My son." Emeka moved closer. "I have very little left to give you." Chinedu almost laughed. The room fell silent. Their father reached beneath his pillow and removed an old leather notebook. Its pages were worn. Its cover was cracked. He handed it to Emeka. "This belonged to my father, and his father before him." Emeka accepted it with both hands. Inside were years of handwritten lessons, stories, mistakes, business principles, advice on choosing friends, how to treat people, how to recognize dishonest partners, how to survive difficult seasons. And one sentence written in bold on the very first page: "If you lose money but keep your character, you can recover. If you lose your character, no amount of money can save you." Chief Okonkwo looked directly into Emeka's eyes. "My greatest wealth was never my land. It was what I learned while building it." Tears filled Emeka's eyes. "I understand, father." Chinedu looked away. He thought, "A notebook? Is that all?" 3 days later, Chief Okonkwo passed away peacefully. The entire village came to honor him. People cried openly. Stories of his kindness echoed throughout the funeral. But once the mourning ended, the brothers' paths began to separate. Chinedu immediately took control of the estate. He renovated the house, bought a luxury SUV, hired workers to manage the farms while he traveled from city to city, eager to enjoy his newfound wealth. He believed money would continue flowing forever. Emeka left the family compound with nothing except a small bag of clothes and the old leather notebook. Many villagers pitied him. Some whispered, "The poor boy received nothing." Others laughed. What can wisdom buy? Emeka simply smiled, because he remembered the final words his father had spoken to him. The world rewards those who solve problems, not those who inherit comfort. Holding the notebook close to his chest, he began walking down the dusty road, uncertain of where life would take him, but certain that his father's lessons would guide every step. As Emeka disappeared down the dusty road, the villagers watched in silence. Some shook their heads with pity, others whispered among themselves, "Poor boy." His father left him nothing. What can an old notebook possibly do for him? Emeka heard every word, but he never looked back. He tightened his grip on the worn leather notebook and continued walking toward an uncertain future. Back at the Okonkwo family compound, life had changed overnight. Chinedu was now the master of the estate. The workers bowed whenever he walked past. Visitors addressed him as Chief. His father's chair became his. His father's office became his. His father's wealth became his. At first, everything seemed perfect. He renovated the family mansion. He bought a brand new luxury SUV. Every weekend, friends filled the compound with laughter, expensive food, and loud music. One evening, as they toasted another celebration, one of his friends said, "Your father worked hard so you could enjoy life." Chinedu smiled proudly. "Exactly," he replied. "Why should I struggle when everything I need is already here?" Everyone cheered. But among those smiling faces were people who loved his money more than they loved him. Meanwhile, Emeka arrived in a neighboring town with only a small travel bag and the leather notebook. He rented a tiny room with a leaking roof. He searched for work every day until an elderly carpenter offered him a job sweeping the workshop. The pay was barely enough to survive. Some people recognized him. "Aren't you Chief Okonkwo's son? What happened to your inheritance?" Emeka smiled gently. "I received exactly what my father wanted me to have." Every evening after work, he opened the notebook. Each page contained lessons his father had learned through years of mistakes and experience. One sentence caught his attention. "Before you ask what you can gain, ask what value you can give." Those words stayed with him. Instead of rushing to become rich, Emeka focused on learning. He watched the carpenter carefully. He learned how to choose good wood, how to negotiate fairly, how to treat customers with respect, how to keep promises. Months passed. The carpenter noticed his dedication. "You don't just work with your hands," the old man said. "You work with your character." One morning, he handed Emeka a small box containing his own set of carpentry tools. "I believe you're ready." Emeka looked down at the tools with tears in his eyes. It wasn't much, but it was his beginning. Back in Umudike, things were beginning to fall apart. The farm produced a poor harvest. Several experienced workers resigned because Chinedu ignored their advice and treated them harshly. Then one of his wealthy friends approached him with an exciting investment opportunity. "This business will double your money within a year." Without asking questions, without seeking advice, without reading the agreement, Chinedu invested a large portion of his inheritance. Months later, the businessman disappeared. The office was empty. The phone numbers no longer worked. The money was gone. For the first time in his life, Chinedu felt fear. He sold one piece of land to cover his debts, then another. Eventually, he sold part of the cocoa plantation his father had spent decades building. The wealth that had seemed endless slowly slipped through his fingers. 5 years passed. Emeka's small workshop had grown into one of the most respected furniture businesses in the region. People traveled from different towns to buy his handcrafted furniture. Young apprentices worked under him. He paid them fairly. He treated them with kindness. Whenever they asked how he had become successful, he would smile and point to the old leather notebook resting on a shelf in his office. My father taught me that wealth built without wisdom never lasts. One rainy afternoon, as Emeka finished speaking with a customer, someone knocked quietly on his office door. He looked up. Standing there was Chinedu. His expensive clothes were gone. His shoulders were bent. His eyes carried years of regret. For a long moment, neither brother spoke. Finally, Chinedu lowered his head. I've lost everything. Emeka stood and embraced him without hesitation. I still have a brother. Chinedu's eyes filled with tears. I spent years believing Father loved me more because he gave me the estate. He paused before continuing. But now I understand. He gave me what I wanted, and he gave you what you needed. Emeka walked to the shelf and picked up the old leather notebook. He placed it gently into his brother's hands. Our father never meant for this wisdom to belong to only one of us. He wanted us both to live by it. The brothers sat together until sunset, turning each page slowly. For the first time, Chinedu read the lessons his father had written years before. One sentence stopped him in his tracks. If you lose money but keep your character, you can recover. If you lose your character, no amount of money can save you. He closed the notebook and smiled through his tears. I understand now, Father. Years later, the Okonkwo family name became respected once again. Not because of the size of their house, not because of their land, not because of their money, but because two brothers had finally learned that the greatest inheritance a parent can leave behind is not wealth. It is wisdom. Moral of the story. Money can be inherited. Wisdom must be lived. Wealth without wisdom fades, but wisdom can rebuild what wealth has lost. If this story touched your heart, remember to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this reminder today.